second week of 5 weeks in a row, my friends, where we have this 6th chapter of St. John going through what they call the Bread of Life discourse. All of it talking about the Eucharist. And if I asked you if you believe that Jesus was in the Eucharist, you would without hesitancy say, yes, I believe that. Tony Randall, whom some of you know, it was a little before my time, was in The Odd Couple. I know it because I watch reruns, my friends. He was in New York City buying jewelry, and the clerk behind the counter was all excited when he saw him come into the store and said, my wife is such a big fan of yours. Can you just say hello? So she picked up her phone and dialed his wife, and then she got on the phone, and they had a really short conversation. He hung up, and then he ended up buying something. It was a necklace that was in the window there, and he bought the window, and he said to the clerk, he said, would you accept a personal check? And the clerk said, yes, we do. He said, but do you have any identification? And I thought, he thought that was Tony Randall, but he wasn't going to worth his job. He didn't believe all the way. And I thought, my friends, it's like us. We say we believe, but do we? It's something that we should ponder, especially over the next couple weeks. There's a town in Indiana called French Lick. There's a basketball player that came from there. Do you know who he came? Do you know who his name is? French Lick is the name of the town. Somebody said it's found there. Yeah, Larry Bird. For those who have never heard of Larry Bird, he was a tremendous basketball player, and anywhere he went in college, they always went to the Final Four, and the pros, they won numerous championships. He played for Boston Celtics, and I think he's now a coach. And apparently he still has a home in French Lick, and I don't know where he's coaching now, but somewhere, in one of the pro teams, or at least one of the general managers. But there's a boulevard named after him in French Lick. It says Larry Bird Boulevard. And people take pictures all the time now with these cell phones, and I saw this picture. They showed two ladies that were having their picture taken under Larry Bird Boulevard, and they were all happy having this picture taken. And it was in the winter months, and there was a man that was running in sweats and a toque on that you could see in the picture. Do you know who it was? It was Larry Bird. So here they're all excited about having their picture taken in the sign that they didn't even realize that Larry Bird is running right by them. And that's what the picture says, And I thought, isn't that interesting? They're excited about the sign, and the one they wanted to see was right there. And they didn't even notice him. It's the same with church. We're all looking for something. We all have needs, my friends, every single one of us. And we want to fulfill those needs. And we come here to fulfill those needs, which is a good thing. And then we get in here, and our minds are out there, aren't they? We want to come in here to fulfill these needs, and yet our minds remain out there. We're more interested in the sign than the person that's running right by us. And we all do it, my friends. We have all sorts of many things to do. But that's what Jesus is saying. They're saying, give us this food. And they're saying that, give me this food that'll last forever. He said, I'm the sign. I'm it. And they still didn't believe it. And we have trouble with that too, don't we, my friends? There's a story of an old recluse that lived in the deep mountains of Colorado, and he passed away. And two cousins or relatives came and kind of were just cleaning things up in his old shack, and he had an outhouse. And when they walked into his cabin, he had by his fireplace there, he had some cooking utensils and some old used mining equipment that were there as well. And then a table that he built made out of oak, and some chairs, same thing. And then he had this bed there with these old woolen blankets that were rolled up. The only thing that really, apparently, to these cousins that had any worth was this beautiful kerosene lamp, of which they took. And as they were leaving, there was another recluse that lived a couple hundred yards away in the next cabin over. And he asked them, he said, "Do you mind if I help myself to anything that's left in the cabin?" And of course they said, "Sure, go ahead." And one of them said to each other, kind of mumbling under his breath so they didn't think the recluse would hear, he said, "There's not much worth in there." When the old friend walked into the cabin, he removed the table and a couple floorboards. And under the floorboards were some burlap bags. You know what the burlap bags were filled with? Gold dust that he had mined for over 60 years. There was a couple $100,000 worth of gold that was under that in old burlap bags. But the recluse said they should have got to know him better as he watched their car drive away. They should have got to know him better. And I thought, my friends, it's the same with us. We got to satisfy those needs in the deepest recesses of our hearts. And there's only one person that can do that. And that's why he gives that image. "Whoever comes to me will never hunger, and whoever believes in me will never thirst," because we have a hunger and a thirst deep within us that can only be fed by him alone. But we got to know him better, my friends. We got to know him better. And we receive him each week. God bless you.